Have you ever wondered whether you should say bring, take or fetch? These three common English verbs seem simple, but they do cause confusion for many English learners. So in today's podcast, we'll explain the differences between them, explore common collocations and expressions, look at useful phrasal verbs and idioms, and also help you sound more natural and confident in everyday English. Welcome to
Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hello and welcome to the podcast, especially if you're a new listener. My name's Craig.
And my name's Reza.
And with nearly 60 years of teaching between us, we'll help you improve your English and take it to the next level. How are you doing, Reza?
I'm doing well, much better after those tasty biscuits which you've just given me.
Thank you for bringing the biscuits.
Well, I brought some of them. Bringing them, yes.
Not fetching them, bringing them.
Yeah. I brought some of them, but there was already Craig's own selection because we can't possibly have just one type of biscuit when we record a podcast. We need at least 2 or 3 types.
We need a variety. And speaking of variety, we've got a message all the way from Argentina from friend of the show, Carla.
Hi guys, I'm Carla. I'm from Argentina, but I'm currently living in Denmark. I'm working here and I want to say thank you. And also it's unbelievable and amazing to listen to you because you are changing a lot during the years. That's it. See you soon.
Thank you, Carla. Are we changing for the better or are we changing for the worse? You didn't mention how we're changing, Carla. Very curious to know.
By the way, in the grammar there you said you're changing, but really we better say is you have been changing. Present perfect continuous. Because if it's from the past if it's from the past up to now, then we should use present perfect continuous because it connects the past and the present rather than present continuous. Yeah, that's the question. More grey hairs, that's for sure.
Yeah, more grey hairs and a larger tummy, a larger stomach, thanks to the biscuits. Carla, what are you doing over there in Denmark? You didn't mention what you're there for, so get in touch. Tell us what you're doing there and how you're enjoying your time in Denmark. How does it compare with Argentina? And
by the way, Carla, since you're from Argentina, we are recording this podcast just a few days before the semi-final of the World Cup football between England and Argentina. So the match hasn't happened yet when we're recording, but it will have happened, future perfect, by the time you listen to this episode. So if Argentina won, congratulations, well done. If England won, sorry, I'm sure you played well, better luck next time.
Yeah, and I will take out one of those sentences when I edit the podcast so that it sounds that we're really, really up to date. So Reza, bring versus take, bring and take, kind of connected in some way to come and go because we're talking about direction. So I will direct you to a podcast that we recorded recently focusing on come and go and different collocations. Go to inglespodcast.com/626 and if you want to clarify the meanings and learn some new expressions, that podcast might be interesting for you.
Well, I'm probably not a great person to ask because I come from Ireland and I've noticed that a lot of English speakers in Ireland don't use bring and take properly. And I think when I was a kid growing up, I mixed them up myself. But that's very common. Native speakers often don't use vocabulary correctly. And yet, if a foreigner gets it wrong in an exam, they'll be heavily penalized. So when I started to think about teaching English, I quickly learned that you need to distinguish between them. They are not the same thing, despite what you might hear in Ireland. So let's start off with bring. To bring is to carry something toward a person or place. The object moves toward the speaker or toward the destination. That's bring. For example, bring some beer when you come over. Yeah, so I say to Craig, on the phone, he's going to meet me later at my house, I say, bring some beer when you come over to here, to where I am. So the beer isn't where I am now, but I want it to arrive where I am, so I want Craig to bring it. Or imagine Craig's right beside me in the same room. I say, Craig, can you bring me some water? So the glass is beside Craig's hand, it's not beside mine, so I want him to bring the water, yeah? So to move it toward me, the speaker.
Now be careful with bring, it is an irregular verb. It's bring, brought, brought. Or, that's the vowel sound you need in brought. Is it how you pronounce it in Northern Ireland?
Brought, yeah.
The same, okay. So the same sound as you'd find in door, more, for, law, or floor. Notice there I've got 5 different words with 5 different spellings, but the sound is or, it's the same. And interestingly, Reza brought some biscuits for our coffee break today, which was very nice. Another example, have you brought your laptop? Using the present perfect there with brought. Let's look at some common collocations, Reza. What does bring go together with? Which words do commonly go with bring to make collocations?
Well, plenty. So we've tried to include what we think are some of the most important ones, expressions that you really should know if you want to have a decent conversation in English. Let's start off with bring attention to. If you bring attention to someone, you make people notice something. For example, Craig, can I just bring to your attention the fact that we're recording this podcast with a video? So we gotta look reasonable, yeah? We've got to dress a bit better than we normally would. I'd just like to bring that to your attention.
Yeah. And if you didn't know that, you can go and see us recording this podcast over on YouTube. Go to Ingles Podcast on YouTube and you'll find the videos, and it might bring tears to your eyes seeing that sort of video. So to bring tears to someone's eyes means to make someone cry from sadness. Probably that's what's going to happen. It could be happiness. You could cry over happiness, but it won't be. If you watch the video, it won't be crying out of happiness.
Because never forget, as Craig and I have very proudly said many times, we have the perfect bodies for audio podcasting.
And the perfect faces
Yes.
for audio, but not necessarily for video. You can also bring something to the table, which means, well, you can physically bring water or wine to the table, physically, but it can also be used idiomatically. If you're bringing something to the table, you're offering something in a negotiation, for example. What are you bringing to the table in this meeting? What's on the table, you can also say. What's on the table? What are you offering? What are you bringing to the table in this negotiation?
You can also bring someone to justice. That means to catch a criminal and try them in a court of law. To try a person isn't the same as, for example, to try a biscuit, which Craig and I like to do a lot. To try a biscuit, to experiment, to see if you like it. To try a person means to put them on trial, to bring them to justice, to make them answer legally the accusation, to make them answer legally, I should say, the accusations against them. You bring them to justice, you try them.
Another common collocation with bring is to bring up the rear, R-E-A-R, the rear, behind, to bring up the rear. That means to be the last in a line of people. If Reza's bringing up the rear, that means he's the last person in a line.
You can also bring the house down. Sounds destructive, but actually it's a positive thing. If you bring the house down, you receive enthusiastic applause. It's an expression which comes from the theatre, but it's used now in all walks of life. So if I say, oh, John at the party told fantastic jokes. He brought the house down. Everybody laughed and applauded and really enjoyed his jokes.
Reza's performance of Tevye in the Broadway production of Fiddler on the Roof brought the house down.
If only.
Let's look at some phrasal verbs with bring. You can bring up a topic, which means to introduce it. in a conversation, or not introduce it. You could say, hey, let's not bring up her brother's death. She still gets very upset. Don't mention it. Of course, more physically, you can bring up food as well. If you vomit and you're sick, then you bring up what you've had for lunch, for example.
With the preposition about, we have the phrasal verb bring about, meaning to cause something to happen. For example, the new policy brought about significant changes. Yeah, it caused the changes to happen. It brought them about.
Bring out, with the preposition out, is to reveal a hidden characteristic in someone, or a characteristic that's been suppressed or put down, to bring out something in someone. For example, this music really brings out the dancer in me. As soon as I hear this music, I can't stop moving my body. As soon... Excuse me, there's an edit point. As soon as I hear this music, I can't stop moving my body to the rhythm. It brings out the dancer. It can also bring out the best in you or bring out the worst.
Craig, I hope you're not offended if I say that the likelihood of that example, bringing out the dancer, in either you or me is close to zero.
Yeah.
I don't think we're the greatest dancers who've ever lived.
Although, speaking of me dancing in a discotheque in the 1980s brings back a lovely memory. What does bring back mean?
To bring back a memory, return something, to bring it back physically, or, in this case, to remind someone of the past. This song brings back memories. It reminds me of the past. Yeah, so were you a dancer in your youth?
Oh yes, I could cut a line on the dance floor. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've never been much of a fiddler on the roof, yes, but not much of a dancer on the roof. No.
Not a fiddler in your trousers.
No,
No.
fiddling with my feet. Yeah.
Reza and I were going to record this podcast on Wednesday this week, but because of scheduling problems, we decided to bring the meeting forward and record on Monday. So if you bring something forward, you move it to an earlier date. The meeting has been brought forward to tomorrow, for example. And the opposite of bring a meeting forward is to put back, to put the meeting back, to delay it.
And the last phrasal verb we have for you is with off, that's O-double-F, to bring off. That means to accomplish something difficult. So, for example, despite the overwhelming odds, that means very, very, very strong chance against them, the small group of rebels managed to bring off the revolution. So nobody thought that they could do it. It was really difficult, but they did it. They were able to bring off the revolution.
So as I'm sure you know, phrasal verbs, when you add a preposition, it tends to change the meaning of the verb sometimes. So just remember, the verb to bring is to carry something towards a person. Now, to take is to carry something away from a person or a place. So the object moves away from the current location. For example, take an umbrella when you go out. I think it's going to rain. Take it with you. Take it. Remove it from this place and take it to another place further from here. Another example, I'll take the documents to the office, meaning I'll go to the office with the documents. Or he took his children to school. He left the house and he took them to another place.
And just like bring, take also is very commonly used in many collocations. We've got a selection of some of the more important ones. For example, take notes. That is to write down important information so you can remember it. It's not to write down every single word, it's just notes. So you take notes, you write down the important bits to be able to remember them.
You can take responsibility for something, which means you accept that something is your duty or that you are accountable for it. I take full responsibility for my actions.
Take a break is a very common expression. It means stop what you're doing for a short time to rest. As you know, if you're a regular listener to this podcast, Craig and I always take a break to have a little coffee and a biscuit or two.
Yes. We took a break before this podcast. So took, another irregular verb, and the vowel sound in the past and the third form is took. The same sound as in put or foot, took. You can take a photo. Be careful with that because some students don't use that collocation. They'll say make a photo, which is not correct. Take a photo.
Classic Spanish mistake, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get it wrong the other way. Yeah, what is it I say? Yeah, I often say incorrectly in Spanish because I'm thinking it's take a photo and I translate it, and take is often translated in Spanish as tomar, very often, but not always. This is the thing with collocations. Whatever language you speak, don't get fixated on one translation of the verb. No, it depends on the collocation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So the Spanish say hacer una foto. That's the correct one. But I often incorrectly say vamos a tomar una foto. And Spanish people look at me like tomar? Ah, claro, hacer.
When are you going to take it?
Hacer. So that's why they say make or do, because that's what normally would be the translation. But there's no fixed translation of verbs. It depends on the collocation. This is why you have to learn the collocation as a collocation.
And if you go into a job interview and the interviewer says, take a seat, don't pick up the seat and leave the office carrying the seat and go home. That's not what the interviewer means.
You won't get the job.
You won't get the job unless it's an IKEA. But if you hear take a seat, that means sit down. Take a seat, sit down.
And take a chance is another very common one. If you take a chance, you do something despite the risk because you hope for a good result. Take a chance on me, as ABBA famously sang.
Chance on me.
If you're of a certain age. In other words, it's risky. If you want to go out with me, you want to be my boyfriend, girlfriend, it's risky, but what the hell, do it. Take a chance on me.
You can take medicine, which means to swallow or use medication. If you're ill, you're not feeling well, you can take a pill, take some cough medicine, for example. So medicine, pills, medication you take.
Many of you listening, and why do I have the feeling that the vast majority of you are female, might feel that someone has taken you for granted.
Every day, mate.
Yeah. We men can feel it as well, but quite a lot of women often complain that their partner, their husband, takes them for granted. So if you take a person or a thing for granted, you fail to appreciate someone or something. Yeah, and it's a classic source of arguments between couples that one is taking the other for granted.
When my wife says to me, "You take me for granted," I say, "Take it easy, relax, take it easy, take a seat, don't worry." Take it easy means relax, don't worry, don't work too hard, chill, man, chill out.
If that's all you say, that's all right. But if you add that final, if you go a step further, if you say, take it easy, and then if you say, you're being hysterical, now you've done it. You don't ever want to do that. Listen, we love giving advice about things we know nothing about. So if your girlfriend or wife says that you're taking her for granted, whatever you do, don't say she's being hysterical because you've just added another nail to your coffin.
That is taking a chance.
So take a leaf out of my book. Yeah, I made that mistake once and I won't do it again. Copy me. Never say to your girlfriend or wife that she's being hysterical, yeah? Take a leaf out of my book. I learned the hard way that you should never do it, and now I never do it, eh? But believe me, gentlemen, don't do it. Take a leaf out of my book, copy me.
Now, when you say leaf, you don't mean a leaf from a tree.
No, a leaf of a book is a page in a book. A leaf is a page when it's in a book.
You can tell someone to take your time, which means don't hurry, slow down, take your time. Don't rush. And you can take someone for a fool, F-O-O-L, which is to consider someone easy to deceive. Do you take me for a fool? Do you think I'm stupid? Don't take people for fools.
Also, you can take the mickey, Or slightly more vulgar, take the piss. If you're taking the mickey or taking the piss, you're making fun of someone or you're mocking them. Be careful, as I say, taking the piss is slightly rude. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but if you don't have a lot of, a close relationship with that person, but it's best not to say that. Say, hey, are you taking the mickey? Yeah. In other words, are you taking me for a fool? You think I'm stupid? Are you making fun of me?
Funny story, my wife's Spanish, and when we first started going out together, I taught her the expression to take the piss, and she was learning English at the time, and her teacher gave the class a lot of homework. I want you to do this, and then this exercise, and also I want you to do this exercise. And my wife shouted out, "You're taking the piss." So that wasn't the right social situation to use that expression. So only use take the piss if you feel very comfortable and you're close to the person you're speaking to. Don't shout it out after getting too much homework. So we've looked...
Oh, beg your pardon. I banged against my microphone there.
So we've looked at some common collocations. Let's look at some useful phrasal verbs with take. You've probably heard the phrasal verb take off, and you probably know that phrasal verbs very often have more than one meaning. Obviously, a plane takes off, it leaves the ground, but a business can also take off, which means it becomes successful and earns a lot of money and grows. And then, of course, you take off your clothes before you go to bed to remove your clothes. And
be careful, we mentioned with bring earlier, what was it? We said the opposite of...
Bring forward?
Bring forward was put back. And the opposite of take off clothes is to put on. Don't think, oh, I just take off, the opposite will be take on. No, it isn't actually. It doesn't work that way. So you can take off clothes and become nude, or put them back on again. In the case of Craig and I, it's better if we put them on. But believe me.
And the same with the plane. The opposite of a plane takes off is not the plane takes on or takes down, it's the plane lands.
Our next one is to take to. If you take to someone or something, it means you start liking that thing or that person. For example, Pat took to boxing as soon as he put the gloves on for the first time. He took to boxing. He immediately started to like it. He took to it.
Another phrasal verb you should know the meaning of with take is to take on. The meaning of employing staff in a company, for example. So to take on new employees is to give people jobs, to employ more people. Our language school has taken on 5 new teachers this year, for example. And take on has another meaning, to cheat someone. I was taken on when I bought that cheap record player from the market, for example. It didn't work. I was taken on, I was cheated.
And it has another meaning. Sorry to complicate your life, but phrasal verbs often have multiple meanings. Related to boxing, you can take on someone as a challenge. So the challenger has taken on the champion. So it can also mean to challenge. This is very common with phrasal verbs. One phrasal verb can have 2 or 3 or 4 or multiple meanings. It's not unusual.
To take up a new hobby is to start doing it. For example, I've recently taken up running to lose some weight. Have you taken up any new hobbies recently?
Eating chocolate cake. Before it was just chocolate biscuits, but I've widened it to chocolate cake.
Taken on a new...
I don't want to take on too much though. I don't want to overdo it. If you overdo something, that's too much. I don't want to take on too much, just a bit at a time.
You should be careful, Reza, because if you eat too much chocolate, what might happen is that it takes over your life, which is what happened to me. Take over.
And you became a chocoholic. You couldn't handle it. But you're a functioning chocoholic. You get through life just about, right?
Yeah, but I have to have my first chocolate biscuit in the morning as soon as I get up. I'm a chocoholic.
When you see Craig's hand, it's trembling at 9 o'clock, and he has a cup of something, you think, oh, it'll be coffee. No, it'll be hot chocolate or something like that.
So when I say to take over your life, it really means it's taking control of you, taking control of your life. And in a similar way, one company can take over another company. Microsoft can take over Apple. That's not going to happen. but companies take over other companies, which means they take control of them, they buy them.
You can also take something back, which means return it, usually to a shop. So if you bought something and you don't like it, or it doesn't work, or it's not right for you, you can take it back, you can return it.
You can take after someone, which means to resemble a family member. For example, Steve takes after his dad. They're both very tall. You can take after someone physically, in your appearance, and you can also take after someone in your personality, your character. So I think I take after my dad in looks with physical build, but I take after my mum in character.
So that's what we've got for you as regards take. Now our last verb, which perhaps isn't quite so common, but you still need to know it, and that is fetch. F-E-T-C-H, fetch. It means to go somewhere, get something, and return with it. So it's a bit of a mixture. It's kind of like a mixture of bring and take if you think about it, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. So you could say, for example, Reza, can you fetch my glasses from the kitchen? So we're sitting now in the recording studio, which is basically our lounge, our living area, where I put a table and some microphones. But if I want my glasses from the kitchen, then Reza would have to get up, go to the kitchen and bring the glasses from the kitchen to here. So going and coming back is fetching. Can you fetch my glasses from the kitchen?
And the word fetch is slightly more common in British English, although as I say, it's not as common as it used to be, even in British English. Americans prefer to say go get. So if Craig was American, he would say, would you go get my glasses from the kitchen? It's unlikely an American would say, can you fetch my glasses?
What's interesting is that British speakers would probably say go and get, wouldn't they? Not
That's
go
true,
get.
go and
Would
get.
you go and get me a glass of water?
That's true, go and get, but Americans it's just go get. Yeah, that's true.
Another example, I'll go get my jacket from the other room if you're American, or I'll go fetch my jacket from the other room if you're British.
So how is fetch different from bring? Well, what about this? If I say, Craig, can you bring me some water? So Craig is in the kitchen, and the focus here is on arriving with the water from the kitchen. So he's not beside me, he's in the kitchen, so bring will do. But compare it to Craig, can you fetch me some water? So in this situation, Craig is beside me, he isn't in the kitchen now, so Craig has to go to the kitchen, he gets some water, and then he arrives back with it. So fetch means leaving from where the speaker is to go to the other area to get the object and then come back. That's fetch.
And as Reza said, historically fetch was much more common than it is today. In modern everyday English, native speakers often prefer verbs like get or pick up or maybe collect in some situations. For example, I'd probably say, instead of saying I'll fetch the kids from school, many speakers would say I'll pick up the kids from school, which also means go and bring them home. Or I'll collect the kids from school.
Having said that, the word fetch has stuck. It's still very common in certain uses. For example, it's very, very popular for dogs, because dogs, as everybody knows who's ever had a dog, or even if you haven't had a dog, you know that there's nothing dogs love better than leaving for your side to go to another place to get something like a ball or a stick or whatever, or bring it back to you. Dogs love that. So you might hear something like, Coco, fetch the ball. Good doggy. So Coco has to leave from my side. I throw the ball. He goes to where the ball is, gets the ball and brings it back. So he has fetched the ball. Now, why wouldn't I say to Coco, go and get the ball, or American, go get the ball?
It's too long. 2
syllables.
Yeah.
Go and get. Fetch is one. Dogs love monosyllabic orders. They respond very, very well to pretty much all monosyllabic commands. It's why even Spanish speakers say sit, up, down, often to the dogs, because in Spanish, sit is siéntate. Dogs haven't got time to listen to that. Siéntate, 3 syllables.
Life's too short. Life's too short.
Dogs are into mindfulness. Don't waste time here. Get to the point. Sit, up, down, go, fetch. That's why dogs like fetch. They don't like go get. Fetch is their word.
Well, now it's your turn to practice your English. Can you think of 2 or 3 English words that you find confusing, similar to what we've looked at today with fetch, bring and take? Tell us about them, and we'll consider creating a podcast for you around the words that confuse you. You can send us a voice message. Do that by going to speakpipe.com/inglespodcast. You can also write to us by email with a comment or question to me, Craig, at inglespodcast.com, or to Reza at belfastreza@gmail.com. And as always, the show notes available on our website at inglespodcast.com/632.
And if you're a Spanish speaker and you want to improve your English with free or paid resources, you could visit the Mansión Inglés website. That's at mansioningles.com. And also, if you're interested, again I bind into my speaker. I better think about my spatial awareness and get a bit better for the future. If you want to practice your English specifically with paid products, you could also browse the online store. That's S-T-O-R-E, store, meaning shop, at store.mansioningles.net.
And maybe you'd like to read all of the words that we say in this podcast, and you can get a full transcription by joining our Patreon program. As a Patreon member, you'll receive the full transcription by email every week so that you can read every word that we say, and you'll also get a monthly invitation to join me for an informal chat on Zoom for an hour or so to practice your speaking. For more information, go to patreon.com/inglespodcast.
It would be nice to mention every single one of our Patreon sponsors' names, but that would take a long time and we haven't got time for that. So, as usual, we will just mention our most recent supporter who joined this month, and that is Juan Gonzalez. So thank you to Juan, but indeed to all our Patreon supporters.
Yes, thank you very, very much. Next week, we're going to be speaking about movement vocabulary in English. Words like walk, stroll, wander, leap, and many, many more. So join us next week for that. And until then, thank you for listening this week. It's goodbye from Reza.
And it's bye-bye from Craig.